Reverb Experiment episode number 68. You got Steph.net to my left. Got G_focus in the building as well. And we are here with another episode of the Reverb Experiment Podcast where we talk about everything considering black culture. Today we got a jam-packed show for y'all. We're going to just go ahead and get right on into it. We're going to talk about Usher and the Super Bowl performance that's going to be coming up and his album that dropped.
Yeah, he got an album that dropped.
Yep. And just to remind y'all, so we do record on the weekends. So by the time the Super Bowl comes out, we will not be able to react to it in real time. But Monday, we are going to be able to give you guys a response to his performance and I guess the Super Bowl. All right?
Yeah, we're going to be going live. So tune in. We've been doing some special live episodes. So make sure that y'all following us.
Absolutely.
So that y'all know.
We are going to also be talking about Monique and her appearance on Club Shay Shay. And man, shout out to Uncle Shannon, man.
Man, shout out. He doing his thing.
And he giving us content.
Somebody said they called Carisha the next Oprah, and I did not have on my bingo card that it was going to be Shannon Sharp because he eating everybody up in the podcast game right now.
That man, yeah, Shannon is killing it, man.
He doing his thing.
So we're going to talk about it, and we're going to take a little bit of a different angle. Most people are going to be talking about the Tyler Perrys and things. We're going to be talking about the more important issues that we found in that interview. So Stay tuned to that. And then before we leave, we are going to talk about a relationship advice. And I'll hold it as a surprise so y'all can listen to the end of the pod.
But they be real juicy. If y'all be staying tuned, y'all know.
Y'all know. We always be picking some good ones, right? So we appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, comment. If you're listening via audio, make sure you hit the follow button. Leave a review and give us some love and give us some donation. You know what I'm saying?
Donation.
Oh, wrong one.
Donation.
There we go.
Donations. Gifts.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and get right into it with the Usher, man. So Usher dropped a new album, Coming Home. Congratulations to the God, to the R&B GOAT.
So out the gate, Usher new album, Bop or Flop?
Oh, bop.
Absolutely.
It was a bop. Hold on, man.
Too.
It was a bop.
I wouldn't say no skips, but it was a bop.
I thought it was a bop.
Absolutely.
But let's go to the internet and let's see what the internet had to say.
Because they got a lot to say.
Let's see what the internet had to say. So this is a new segment. We're going to try to incorporate some of the social media tweets and stuff in here. So Mayor of Pound Town says, I thought Usher's Coming Home album was going to be him getting into his old bag and giving us those Confessions and 8701 type R&B hits. Okay.
That's people's problem. I feel like people need to accept that Confessions came out what year? 2000.
It was when I was in high school. I don't even remember.
It was like 2004.
Yeah.
Come on now. Like, y'all got to give it up. It's a new day. Like, enjoy the music that people putting out now. It is 2024. That was a decade ago.
I agree. I want to give the overarching theme after I read some of these tweets. The next tweet from Team Pam and Toby. From what I've listened to so far, Coming Home, it's clear that Usher knows how to embrace the evolution of music. He's offering something for everyone without losing his signature sound. Okay.
Preach.
DJ DeLorean says, Usher, thank you for not trying to give us another Confessions. We true fans actually want to grow and don't want the same stuff. Coming Home is fire. All right. And then the last tweet. I got two more tweets. This is the last one we're going to do. This is from Lewis. It says, Usher fans are seriously sleeping on his new album. All they want to do is to reminisce about Confessions and compare him to Chris Brown. These Coming Home Spotify first day numbers are miserable.
Yeah.
So it seemed like social media was kind of had a mixed bag. You had some people that
I'm an Usher fan. I didn't even know the album was dropping.
Well, it was very strategic, and I'm glad he did it before. I mean, it makes better sense to do it before you have a Super Bowl performance. So I didn't know it was ready. I knew he was coming with one, but it makes sense. It's almost Valentine's Day weekend, right? It's right before Valentine's Day. It's Super Bowl weekend. It's Usher. He's in Vegas. He already did a residency in Vegas.
And the tickets went on pre-sale for the tour.
Right. So to me, this is like perfect timing for him.
It is. I just don't feel like it was a lot of promo. Like, I didn't know it dropped
right
until I seen the internet talking about it. But
But you know what? Sometimes I think I like it better like that because then If it's too hyped up, then I'm expecting more.
Yeah.
So sometimes I kind of like the surprise drop. So, or maybe I just haven't been paying attention. But either way, so you're over. So you like the album.
I like the album. I feel like, again, there is a little bit too much of people wanting the same thing. I feel like that's the Chris Brown fans, because he done gave the same 25-track album about 3 times in a row. So I don't know. Like, I get having your signature sound, but
have to grow.
You gotta grow. You gotta, you know what I mean? You have to grow with the times. And like that tweet said, Usher is very, very good at that. Like staying relevant without it being like corny or without it being like trying too hard.
Yeah, I will say some of the last albums he dropped were kind of mid. Like I haven't listened to them since they've dropped. This album is one of his better albums.
Absolutely.
Especially after Confessions, for sure.
And I also agree with the whole comparison to Chris Brown. Again, there is no other big R&B person to really compare him to.
Right.
So I get it, but I think he's in his own lane. I think also a lot of the comparisons are coming from a lyric that he had in one of his songs where people are saying that he dissed Chris Brown. He said, niggas talking about verses with me, please stop. No, you think he is, but baby, he's not. And people are saying that's about Chris Brown. Because, I mean, who else has he been in conversation to do a verses with? Other than Chris Brown. So, a lot of people is not, Chris Brown fans don't play about him.
Usher, don't be saying stuff like that on your record and you don't accept the verses.
But why would he?
Because that's what the fans want.
But let's just be all the way honest. I know we love Chris Brown, but Usher is on another level, like, than Chris Brown. Like, he doesn't need to do a verses to be relevant.
The last 10 years, I don't know. Last 10 years, what other album is noteworthy?
Chris Brown would benefit more from doing the verses with Usher than Usher would benefit from doing the verses with Chris Brown.
That doesn't mean that you can't compete. If you're saying stuff like that, get in the ring.
I'm getting on the Super Bowl, baby. Like, why would I get on Instagram with Chris Brown when I'm finna get on the Super Bowl stage?
Because it still benefits you. And if you say that you the best and you the king of R&B, then prove it.
I am. I'm about to do the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but what has he done prior to the residency? What has Usher done in the last 10 to 20 years?
It still don't warrant getting on
in the
Chris
so
Brown.
You not having a noteworthy album in the last 20 years does not warrant you getting in the ring?
I just dropped an album and I'm finna do the Super Bowl.
Right. We're talking about.
But you want me to get on Instagram with Chris Brown.
We're talking about the last 20 years.
And we're talking about right now.
If you are the king of R&B, what have you done for R&B in the last 20 years?
What is Versus gonna do that's gonna change anything?
Prove that you are the best because you say that you're the best. He just said it in the record. So prove it.
Nah.
Yeah.
Nah.
So you scared.
I don't feel like he's scared.
Then do it. So then why would you not do it? Does it not only benefit you? Does it benefit only Chris Brown or does it benefit Usher too?
No, because let's just be honest, being tied to Chris Brown is not a positive in the industry. So how does that benefit him?
But you're not tying yourself. You're competing.
Nah.
Yes.
What people are going to see it as is Usher giving Chris Brown a platform. And we know a lot of people still have issues with Chris Brown. Like, let's just be honest, he's blackballed.
That's not giving him... Chris Brown has been on the billboards consistently for the last 20 years. He's not blackballed.
Again, the way that Usher is going, Super Bowl, mainstream...
But he's been mainstream.
You don't want to hit your wagon to Chris Brown.
Versus is culture. That is not mainstream. That is for us. Do it. Why would you not do it? Maybe I'm just selfish.
I already said why. So I already said why. I ain't gonna keep saying it.
But it doesn't hurt. How does it hurt him though? I guess that's what my question is.
It's kind of like what I said with Meg Thee Stallion. You already won. Why step back into the ring? I just don't.
Right, but that's after they stuck. That's after they got in the ring though. That's after they competed. That's not like your example would be Meg not saying nothing to Nicki. Or Nicki not responding back to Meg, because I mean you can make the argument, why would Nicki respond?
Yeah, I just wouldn't. I wouldn't. Not with
but
not
the competitive. If you competitive,
the trajectory that he's on, I don't feel like.
But then don't say that. Then don't say what you just said on that record. If you don't want to even compete, if you don't feel like it's beneficial, if you don't want to prove it, then don't say that. That's just like saying, "Oh, I can beat you in basketball," and then somebody say, "Okay, well, grab the ball." And you're like, nah, I'm good. I'm above that.
I guess.
Don't say nothing, bro. Anyway, so what was your favorite record on the album? Usher, man, look, I'm telling you, dog, you can't be saying stuff like that and then not hopping in the verses, man. Now, if the money ain't right, that's a totally different. Obviously, the business got to be right.
They ain't got no Usher bag.
The business got to be right.
Some of the people they asking to come on verses, they ain't got the bag for. You're not gonna see Beyonce on verses. Well, you're not gonna see. You know what I'm saying? They ain't got that bag.
Well, they can get the bag. They can get some investors. We gonna see.
We'll see.
All right. Favorite record.
Honestly, I really like the lead single "Ruin." I really like that song.
Ruin
I like
was
the
fire.
video.
Ruin was fire.
Outside of that one, I like the song with her. I can't think of what it's called.
I don't have the features on there, but I think I know what you went on. You're talking about the one that was on the Color Purple soundtrack. Okay.
I really like it. Yeah, and On the Side.
On the Side was fire. That's one of my favorite ones.
Side chick songs always gonna hit.
They always gonna hit.
Always.
Always gonna hit. I Am the Party. Please You. Those were the ones that stood out to me for sure. And then Ruin, of course. I also like Stone Cold Freak. You know, all them sex songs they always hit too, especially when it's Usher. So
people say, well, what Usher done did, but at the end of the day, whether he did some or not, he's still the talk of R&B. You still comparing people to Usher. You ain't comparing Chris Brown. You know what I'm saying? Like, anybody come out, Usher's still the blueprint.
Can't go off a reputation. You got to put out something. And for the last 20 years, you ain't been holding it down. People talk about R&B being dead. Okay, well, if you are the king of R&B, then you need to be consistent. That's all I'm saying.
That little EP he put out was fire to me.
I think if you were to ask the general public what has he done in the last 20 years, most people would be hard pressed to even name one song. Now, Daddy's Home and all the stuff he was doing with Ross, he had some singles, but again, body of work matters. Body of work matters, and especially when you're doing a versus because it's Billboard, it's hits. So if you going to go off of 8701 and Confessions, that's fine. But like you said, that was tight.
Okay, so if Chris Brown and Usher do a versus today, who do you think is going to win based on body of work? Not who you like better, based on body of work.
Based off of body of work, I got to go with That'd be hard. Oh. I think in the past, I said Chris. I think Usher got more than Usher got 20. Usher definitely got 20.
They both got 20.
When I was thinking about it before, I was thinking more or less as crowd and audience. And because Usher really hasn't been consistent, you have that age group that doesn't really know that Usher. Mm-hmm. So if we're going off of like public opinion, I got to say Chris. Just because he's been active the last 20 years. Mm-hmm. So you're getting 2 or 3 generations of people that know your music. Mm-hmm. For our generation, I think we would lean towards Usher. Just because we grew up off of Usher. So I think part of it is who you grew up on. But I would say
I give Chris his due because Chris is the new school king of R&B for this new school. But I didn't grow up on Chris. Chris Brown came out when I was graduating high school.
For sure.
So I grew up on Usher. So for me, it's Usher.
For sure.
You feel what I'm saying? For the new school, it's going to be Chris, which is fine.
Right.
I mean, somebody said it, like, honestly, Usher and Chris Brown are not in the same lane.
No.
They're not even in the same, they're not peers. If you really want to be honest, it's just the fact that
they're from two totally different generations.
Simple as that.
But if they were to go, I would just for the sake of argument, I would go with Chris.
I'm standing beside Usher.
Period.
I'm gonna stick beside him.
So y'all let us know in the comments, who do y'all believe would win out of an Usher Chris Brown versus?
Yep.
And just comment Usher or comment Chris. Or CB, however y'all want to do it.
We gonna see.
All right, cool. So we gonna keep it going. So we gonna get into the heart of the pod, man. We gonna get into the internet wins again. And we are gonna talk about Miss Monique on Club Shay Shay. And once again, man, I gotta give props to Club Shay Shay, man. He's doing it.
He's doing his thing. I think one thing about this interview that people are not gonna get if they don't watch the whole thing is it's not just Monique airing her grievances and talking about D.L. Hughley, talking about Tyler Perry, talking about Oprah. I really feel like it was a conversation about trauma, and it showed us not just her trauma, but overall just Black people and how we deal with trauma and how it shows up in how we do business, how we interact with family, how we interact in relationships. It really was a bigger conversation.
It was a really good interview.
Absolutely.
It was a really good interview, and yeah, I agree. All the clips for the promo are going to be the Tyler Perry's, the Kevin Hart's, the Tiffany Haddish airing out their grievances, but there was a lot more depth to the interview.
The conversation is going to be, who do you believe is going to be Monique versus Tyler and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I feel like we got to get back to watching full interviews. And I know it's long, but when I was reading the comments of the video, a lot of people was like, Shannon is single-handedly bringing back attention spans in 2024. Because people really did watch that whole interview. And if it's long, watch it on times 2. Speed it up. That's what I did.
Or just break it up.
Break it up.
Break it up. Like if you at work, listen to maybe the first half one day and listen to the second half.
But once you start listening, I'm telling you,
you're gonna not want to stop listening.
You're gonna be engaged anyway. So yeah.
If y'all can sit down and watch a whole Marvel movie for 2 hours and 45 minutes, you can probably listen to this interview.
Absolutely,
for sure.
But yeah, I want to say, like, starting out, like when she was talking about her life and her family and her trauma, I feel like I really resonated with that a lot.
I think in some shape, form, or fashion, all of us can relate in some capacity.
Absolutely.
To a lot of what she said. So we're going to play this first clip and then we'll expound on it. And this first clip is mainly her talking about trauma, right? So.
We've been taught to say, you mistreated me, you abused me, you violated me, you disrespected me, you belittled me, but I'm supposed to look at you at Thanksgiving and say, how you doing, Unc? That's what we've been taught. You swallow that pain. That's why people have such a problem with Cat Williams. People have a problem with people that says, I'm going to tell the truth. I'm going to tell the truth. And that causes a ruckus. And you would say, why are people upset with the truth? We've been taught to say, you mistreated me, you abused me, you violated me.
Okay. So obviously she's, in regards to the response to trauma, and trauma specifically coming from family.
From family. I think for most of us, obviously that's always going to be, that's the start. Your family, your relationship with, we've talked about it on here, your relationship with your mom, your dad, whatever. That's really going to shape, who you are and how you see the world. And I think she had a point where she said that, like, basically we're kind of conditioned to accept trauma. I can't speak for any other community and how their families operate, but it's kind of like, family is family. At the end of the day, blood is thicker than water. Like, you hear all of these sayings where it's like, you only get one family. Okay, well, if that family do me wrong, then what? You know what I mean? And if we're taught to accept that at home, what do you think that we're going to do when we go out into the world? You know what I mean? So I would say, do you believe that our issue with believing Monique or supporting Monique and supporting people like Cat Williams is because we are, as a community, conditioned to accept trauma?
I don't think it's because we're conditioned to accept trauma. I just think the narrative is typically always spun from the people that are in control first.
Okay.
So what was put out there before was that she's difficult to work with. So if we already have that presupposition, then anything else that she says is discredited. Because it's, you're only saying this because you're angry. Or because you're
being difficult,
bitter, because you're vindictive. So whatever you have to say with the venom is because of that. It's not because of the truth. It's because you're being vengeful, basically, right?
Yeah.
And the way she approached it gave credence to what was being said, because there was a lot of venom, very aggressive. So we're like, okay, well, that lines up with the narrative, right? It's easier for us to believe that than it is for us to believe all these people have conspired against her.
See, as a Black woman, that's the thing, because we all know what the narrative is of Black women, the angry Black woman and this and that. So a lot of times when we speak, it aligns with the narrative that's already been spun about us.
For sure.
You get what I'm saying? So I see the frustration in and Black women feeling like I have to tiptoe and I have to, or hold my tongue, even when I'm in the right, I've been wrong. Even when I'm in the right in that situation, I have to approach it a certain way to be heard.
Well, I don't think that's Black. I think that's Black people in general. I think Black men deal with the same thing. Like when we're at the workplace, we have to be very careful on what we say, how we say it, because if not, it's, oh, you're being aggressive, or you're, I'm intimidated by you. Like just our stature is intimidating.
I think even for Black women, even when we ain't saying nothing,
right,
it's a problem.
That's what I'm saying.
If I'm at work and I'm just to myself and quiet and just working, and what's wrong with you?
Yep.
What's going on? Are you okay? Like, you know what I mean? So it's like even in our silence, it's a problem. You know what I mean? And I think when you talk about family trauma and then how we do business and how we operate in the workplace, I think we've talked about it off air that children are supposed to be seen and not heard.
Seen and not heard. Absolutely.
So then how do you then know how to operate in confrontation in the workplace or in contract negotiations or
in relationships
if you've never experienced that? And also there's also that fear of authority. Because at home it's what the authority figure says and that's it. There's no questioning them. There's no coming to them and saying, I feel like this or I didn't like that. There is none of that.
Yep, that's true. That's true. I think the other part of it is too, is that we have to also acknowledge a lot of times, the only times that Black children are heard is when they're angry. Soft speaking and trying to reason. And typically that does not move the needle at all.
Or when they act out.
The only time that they're heard is when they're act out or when there is anger attached to it.
Because when a Black child acts out like they, you know what I mean, blows up or whatever, then it becomes, what's going on? Let's sit down. What's happening? Why that conversation couldn't happen before?
Prior to that. Yep, absolutely. So I feel like what Monique is saying, obviously she's talking about in the family structure that we accept See, but I think there's layers to it because we kind of live in a world where we're kind of too quick to cancel. Like, oh, I'm cutting you off because I don't like how you did this. I don't like how you did this. And we taking the boundary conversation way too far.
Yeah.
Just because somebody says something I don't like, oh, well, I'm not your friend no more because I don't like how you spoke. It's like, no. There's degrees of disrespect.
And some things can be reconciled. I feel like we're in the era now of cut off immediately.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There is no, and I think it's because people are too afraid of confrontation. That's what she's saying.
And
like,
conflict.
We have to have these hard conversations and come to you and say, hey, this hurt my feelings when you said this, or I felt this has made me feel this way. People don't want to have the conversation because you have to be vulnerable and be honest. You know, now it's like, oh, nothing bothers me. I'm unbothered. I have to act like nothing bothers me. So if something does bother you, it's easier for you to cut that person off than actually address it.
Yep.
Then I actually admit that you felt some kind of way. Like if you feel some kind of way, you lost.
Right.
It's weird behavior.
Well, I think the other side of that is you have to have a safe space to be able to express yourself. So if I'm coming to you and I'm saying, hey, you offended me, it can't be gaslighting, I didn't offend you, you tripping, you doing too much, you being overly dramatic. So then, like in the same setting that we're talking about, we have to learn how to be able to deal with conflict. Well, in order to be able to deal with conflict, you have to be in relationship with somebody that's willing to listen to the conflict and listen and be open. And there was something somebody shared with me and it just came to my mind and I'm glad that it did. Hold on, let me see if I can find here it is. It's called dang it, can I find the actual list though? Let me just put in this. Oh, come on, man.
It always be like that.
It always be like this. Okay, it's called here it is. It's called DARVO. That's what it is. DARVO. Do I got it? Yeah, DARVO. It's an acronym. It is deny, attack, reverse, victim, and offender. It is a deflection tactic that involves gaslighting, blame shifting, and scapegoating. And I was like, yo, that in the Black community, that happens often.
Absolutely.
So let me kind of so it summarizes a constant reaction and manipulation tactic used by the perpetration of abuse or other types of wrongdoing. It works by shifting the focus away from the original issue and attacking the actual victim. It attempts to switch the roles of the victim and perpetrator to allow the actual offender to receive sympathy and compassion publicly or privately, as well as to avoid consequences for their action.
Yeah.
Now let me paint that out. Right? Now, y'all can relate to this, and I'm not putting nobody on blast, and I'm not saying this happened in my household. Just as a Black man, I've seen it, and I've seen it in my adult relationships. But you learn it from childhood trauma, right? You bring something to your parents. Your parents, like, you say that, hey, that you offended me or you hurt me by doing such and such. Oh, well, don't I do this? Don't I take you to school? Don't I put clothes on your back? Don't I put a roof over your head? Don't I put food on your table? I can't believe that you would really come to me and have this complaint against me when I do all of this other stuff. And you see me, I work 40 hours a week and I'm tired and I still get up and I still take you to the basketball game. And then by the time you get to that, then it's like, now you feel bad for even bringing it up. So now it's a reversal. It's, I'm bringing a conflict, but now you reversed it. And now I'm the one that feels bad. And now you gaslight me for even bringing it up. So now the next time that I do have a grievance, I'm not going to say nothing. Because every time I say something, you're going to throw in my face what you've done for me.
Yeah, that's kind of where it starts.
Right? So then when you get in relationships, the same thing happens in relationships. And that's why, like, there's a lot of Black men that will not open up and say anything, because when they would bring something to their mom, most, single parent moms, whatever, their mom would then do that to them. It would be, why are you even bringing this up? Why are you saying this? I've done X, Y, Z, this. I don't even know why you're saying that. And then the way you making me feel is, if you are saying all this and you've been thinking about this your whole time, that makes me feel like you never really respected me as your mom in the first place. And then it's like, dang, how do we get to me bringing something to you to now you mad at for me bringing it up and make you feel bad? And then by the time you end the conversation, you like, I didn't even get a chance to really express myself.
Well, that's something that she said a lot in her interview was accountability. And she was saying, like, even with the family, take accountability, not just sweep it under the rug and act like, nothing happened. Because I know a lot of people in our age group can attest to, they bring up something to their parent and they just got amnesia.
Yeah.
I don't never remember that happening.
Yeah.
I ain't never said nothing like that.
Or won't apologize and will not say I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, even if you don't remember it, or even if that wasn't your perspective, if you made somebody feel a certain way, you can still apologize by saying, hey, that wasn't my intention, but I apologize for, hurting you in that way. That wasn't what I was trying to do.
And honestly, us as, I can only speak for the millennial generation, I feel like our generation does have a lot of empathy for our parents now that we are adults. So it's like, I feel like most of us would be
willing to forgive
and understand, because it's like, now as an adult, now that I'm, the hustle and bustle of being an adult and working, a lot of people got kids and stuff like that. You understand better what they went through.
At first, I didn't believe my parents, but when they said they didn't have no McDonald's money, I get it. I get it. I totally get it. And I apologize to them. I'm like, look, I get it, man. Because, look, it's expensive.
No, for real.
It's expensive. So I get it. When you live in paycheck to paycheck, that little meal that you buy for your family, that could change some things, you know what I'm saying?
I would just sit up begging for Jordans and why I can't get these and why, I was able to get them last time. Now I know. You don't know what was going on last time. You don't know
what was going on. And you don't know what bills need to be paid. And
hello.
Right? And dad saying you need to turn off the air or turn off the lights. Like, I'm like, dog, like, why are you tripping off the lights? But now I get it. So
we are understanding, but it's just the denial and the dismissiveness and the gaslighting that we can't get behind.
Absolutely. But I will say, on the flip side of what Monique was saying, she's totally right that if somebody does something that is inappropriate or touching or or whatever, like we have to listen to our children. And if you have a bad reaction bodily wise, or if you don't want to go to somebody's house, we can't just be like, oh, like, no, that's your favorite uncle, you should just go anyway. No, you need to investigate. Why do you not feel comfortable over there?
Yeah.
What happened? Because a lot of times you don't get that story until later, right? And it's like, well, why don't you like going there? I just don't like going over there. And sometimes kids don't have the tools to communicate that, right? Because they're scared of what the backlash is going to be. And there's a lot of times, and there's a lot of people that I've talked to that have been compromised, molested, abused, and when they told their parents what happened, they got in trouble. They were chastised for it. Like that didn't happen. And then again, gaslighting, the Darvo thing, and or getting spanked or getting beat from like, so you're teaching them that there's a consequence to being truthful. And I cannot trust my primary caregiver to protect me.
And that's exactly what she said. She was like, how are people so riled up by the truth?
Yeah.
But you're not riled up by the truth because of what you're hearing, and you're appalled by what actually happened.
By what happened,
You're appalled by somebody saying something.
Yeah.
That's the shock. The shock is, why would you say this? Why would you be open with it? Why would you name names?
And because and what my belief is, because majority of us are raised in households where we sweep things under the rug. And you just don't say nothing. You just keep it to yourself. What happens in your house stays in your house. And a lot of these things are cultural, and they're very damaging. And that is why we have so many issues within Black women and Black men, and conflict resolution, communication, right? We always talk about, and it's so funny because communication is the key to all relationships. Okay, so where did you learn how to communicate? Where did you learn healthy tools how to communicate? What tips? Who did you learn how to communicate from? And if you had bad communication model for you in your childhood, then where do you learn good communication?
Yeah.
Have you read any books? Have you gone any, like, we just think that we're going to just work our way through it. No, you're going to do what was comfortable and what you saw and what was taught more times than not. Right?
Absolutely.
So I think we have to be more intentional when it comes to those things. And I think that
we need to be more self-aware and more self-reflective, because I feel like people don't realize how their trauma shapes how they act and how they move, and how a lot of the things that they do is a response to their trauma.
And more specifically, how your childhood trauma plays a part in your adulthood.
And she definitely talked about that.
Right. So we cannot turn a blind eye and just think, oh, well, I'm good. You're good based off of what?
Yeah.
Better than your parents does not mean that you're good. Right. And you know, unfortunately, sometimes a lot of these issues don't come up to a boil until you're in a marriage or until you're a parent.
And that's exactly what she said when he asked her about her, because, you know, she's been open about her being molested by her brother.
For sure.
And he asked her about, you know, how did that show up in your relationships? You got the clip.
Yeah, I think we got the clip. Is that this? That might be the second clip.
Yep.
Yeah. That was a smooth
Roll that
transition.
clip.
Me and men, I had to come to grips with that. I had to come to
Start it over.
So me and men, I had to come to grips with that. I had to come to grips with being an insecure fat girl. And I had to come to grips with my sister telling me, ain't no man gonna ever really want you because you're fat. I had to come to grips with my father was like, listen, I'm here, but I'm really not. I had to come to grips with those things. So my way of coming to grips with those things was, now I'm a boss. I'm independent and I'm empowered. Don't you know I run this? See, I too went to the Oprah Winfrey University of empowerment. And you don't need a man to make it.
Right.
I signed up.
Right.
And I was at the top of the class till I realized I was going to bed empty. I was going to bed with nothing but stuff. I did not want to be the poor little rich girl who have everything but nothing at all. Don't that sound familiar? I did not want to be that, Shannon. So me and men.
That's deep. That's deep. And I think, honestly, a lot of us can identify with that, Black men and Black women, because a main response to trauma is hyper independence. And our whole motto as a Black community is getting it out the mud and getting it on my own. And, you know what I mean? I didn't need no help. And I feel like that's the way a lot of us move. And I feel like it's a response to trauma.
Oh, for sure. All of this we have to realize is a response to our own personal trauma and generational trauma. Like, I was going to say in the last segment, or the last thing we're talking about, that I feel like a lot of that is also tied to slavery, right? The hyper independence, the what happens here stays here. Don't say nothing. Don't rock the boat, right? Because back then, if you were to speak the truth or say something or speak up against something that was wronged or how you were wronged, you would not only endanger yourself, you would endanger everybody else, right? And I think we're going to have that conversation more or less when we talk about the actual gatekeeping, right? But we don't have the knowledge on how trauma really does affect you, right? Because it can affect different people different ways, right? But so I wanted to read this. So this is the effects of childhood abuse and how it shows up in adulthood, right? So the first thing that it talks about is emotional reactions. So it said that emotions such as fear, shame, humiliation, guilt, self-blame are common and lead to self-depression and anxiety, right? Those two things, depression and anxiety, run rampant in the Black community. Rampant, right? And again, it's a direct correlation to how we were raised. Number two, symptoms of post-traumatic stress. So survivors may experience, intrusive or reoccurring thoughts of the abuse, as well as nightmares or flashbacks, right? I've seen that firsthand. Number three is distorted self-perception. So survivors often develop a belief that they caused the sexual abuse and they deserved it. These beliefs may result in self-destructive relationships, right? So if you factor all of those things together, that is why when people who have been compromised have problems in their self-relationship. This is what I really wanted to get to. Interpersonal effects. Adult survivors of sexual abuse may be less skilled at self-protection. They are more apt to accept being victimized by others. This tendency to be victimized repeatedly may be the result of general vulnerability in dangerous situations and exploitation by untrustworthy people. Right? So in order to reverse that, then you have to be more vigilant about being self-protective to the point where you even may go overboard, which she said in the first part of that clip the part of that clip before we played it, where she said that because she was exploited and because she was abused as a child, that she always had to have her guard up. And she said, I'm going to end up getting you before you get me, because I've always learned that I don't want to be a victim, and to be in control of being a victim, I have to be on the aggressive. I have to be the one that attacks. So we have to understand all these things come into factor. All these things come into play. And the more you understand it, I think the more less judgmental you become when somebody does these things and you're like, okay, there has to be something behind why she's acting the way that she's acting, right? You're not attacking people the way that she's attacking people for no reason. Right. For one, she was the victim, right? Because she was the one that was Tyler Perry did her wrong. Sound like Kevin Hart did her wrong. Like there was bad business all the way around. But now we understand why there is so much venom on the reaction. It's not only that you were wronged, it's also you were wronged. And that reminds me of how I was wronged as a child. That I trusted you to protect me. You did not protect me. And you actually ended up hurting me more instead of protecting me from the people who were trying to hurt me. I trusted you, right? So
especially with Black people, when you're doing business with Black people and you assume that, we look the same, we're in this industry that, we're all, fighting to get
the same
ahead
fight.
We all fighting to get ahead in. So I would assume that we will all be on the same page. But again, I feel like trauma plays a part in the way that we do business. I feel like a lot of times people are not doing business correctly, and that we don't want to have those hard conversations. We don't want to have those, those contract negotiations. When it gets down to the nitty gritty, all of a sudden everybody want to get quiet. You know what I mean? And you supposed to just accept what you get. Even Candy from Escape, she said the same thing when she was working with Boys to Men, that when it came down and they was finished they had all that fun in the studio recording and everything. And then when she talked about, okay, how we finna do these split sheets to see how they was going to divide how we get paid off these songs, all of a sudden they was,
acting funny.
They was acting funny. Now they're like, how dare you bring that up? Who is you? Like, no, I'm handling my business.
Mm-hmm.
And again, Candy has also been a person that people have said is
She's
difficult to work with. Why? Because she about her business. It seems like it's all with the people that's about their business and demanding they worth, and they difficult to work with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they difficult to take advantage of.
That's what it is, right? So we have to really understand what that looks like as a creative, as an actor, whoever it is. If you are a black person in any space where you are running your own business, you are going to understand what I'm saying. So if the business model, and we have to really look back, right? So when people say that I'm doing that you're doing that is bad business, right? Or you're difficult to work with. Okay. First, we need to take a step back and say, what is the business model? Right? If the business model is the higher ups get all the money and I'm going to pay everybody else scrap so I can get as much profit as possible, and I'm going to find people that are vulnerable that were not going to ask too many questions. If that is the business model, then the person that just simply asked a question would be considered difficult to work with.
Yeah.
Right? So, for instance, in the music industry, it is very predatorial. I take a kid from the hood. He didn't have money before. I give him an advance. I don't give him much, and he's happy with it, and I end up getting the majority of the money. If that's doing business, that's a predatorial, capitalistic, taking advantage of vulnerable people business. But then they'll say, well, that's just the business.
And you did it. You took it.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't know better. I didn't know better yet. Like,
right.
Even when she was saying, like, she said by the end of the Parkers, when they got down to that last season, they was only getting $55,000 per episode. That's crazy.
Yep. And you had people getting $1 million an episode.
Mind you, they syndicated at this point. You know what I mean? And that's what she was saying. Like, when you come in and you don't have nothing, the little bit that you get, you're grateful for. You don't want to lose it. Because she said, her words, she said, you remember what it's like to not have no gas money.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying?
But then
when
you learn
better.
But then you learn the game.
Come on.
And then you get more information. And then you understand. How many times have we heard that story?
Yeah.
How many times have we heard, I signed a bad deal. Then when I understood the business of the deal, then I wanted to redo it and they wouldn't let me redo it. We've seen that happen before over and over and over and over and over again when it comes to black people. But again, it is par for the course because we live in a capitalistic society. So what is the business model?
And the gatekeepers are making sure that they're keeping the status quo because they want to keep their seat at the table. So the Kevin Harts, the Oprahs, the Tyler Perrys, the gatekeepers, like when she refused to do the promotion in Cannes for Precious, which she had already did all her contractual obligations, but this was just something that was like a known in the industry that you just do it. Even though you don't get paid, you just do it.
For sure.
When she said no, who did they send? Oprah and Tyler Perry to get her to do it because they're what?
Yeah.
The higher ups in the industry.
And they're the gatekeepers.
They're the gatekeepers. And so they're like, hey, go get her in check.
Yeah.
And when she still said no, they blackballed her.
And really, it's and this is what I was trying to say before, it's really house nigga versus field nigga.
Well...
It is. But you got to look at it from the standpoint of the house nigga too, right? So it's not I don't think it's malicious. I don't think their intent was, just listen to what I'm saying. I don't think their intent is malicious because I think the way that is sold to them is you get on and then you can help your people out. So let me get in the door and let me make sure I have everything good first. And then I can help other people, right? Because Tyler Perry, let's be honest, because we can't paint him out to be this monster. Obviously, he did her wrong. But as far as pay goes, he has paid black actors way more than anybody else has.
Absolutely.
And has given them way more opportunity than anybody else has.
You can't deny that.
Right? So, and I think if you don't play the game to a certain extent, would he be able to do that?
Absolutely. I do agree with that.
But that doesn't mean that he's not wrong. Excuse me. It doesn't mean that, no, I was right. It doesn't mean that he's not wrong for how he did her.
And I think that's the problem that black people face is that when we get people in these positions, we feel like they are above reproach because they are there. And if we tear them down or if we say anything negative about them,
then we tear down our opportunities.
Then we tear down our opportunities. But at the end of the day, I don't care what position you in. That don't mean you can't be wrong. You're not always going to be right.
And don't lie. Right? You don't got to lie about it, right? I mean, and it's the same thing with Kevin Hart. We see that Kevin Hart is uplifting and putting a lot of black artists and black actors and doing his own independent films. So we we love seeing that.
Yeah, so we like, if you say that, you gonna mess it up. And it's like,
But again, that is very house nigga versus field nigga mentality. Don't tear down a nigga in the house because he got his foot in the door. And if you tear him down, then the scraps he gives us is gonna stop flowing. Right? Even if he's doing some shady business. And the minute you say something, then nigga, you just close the door on all of us, right? And he has the power to now go talk to Massa to put us in check. So if you mess up our relationship, he has the overseeing power to make it seem like we're not doing our job.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what happened. Tyler Berry spread the rumor that she's difficult to work with, and everybody believed it.
Yeah.
Right?
And she said that. She was like, it is like, slavery back in the day.
It is.
They would make an example out of one slave to
buck breaking.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So everybody else would be like, yeah, I don't want to end up like that.
They want to stay in line. Yeah.
Right.
And we see it all. I mean, we saw it in the NBA with Kyrie Irving. We see it in all the sports, really. If anybody goes outside of the status quo, they get heavily punished.
Yeah.
So that way there is no, I'm going to do the same thing, right?
You don't want nobody to get no ideas, but at the same time, it's like people saying, oh, just let it go or whatever. Monique's career ain't never going to be the same.
No.
We seen that even though Netflix came back to the table and negotiated with her and she got her special, they said it didn't do that well. Like, she's tarnished for good. And she knows that. I feel like the way that her energy was in the interview, she knows that. But like she said, if I don't say nothing, then the person that's coming behind me going to sit here and go through the same exact thing. So I respect that. But the people telling Monique to just let it go and get over it. If somebody made you lose your job or lose your bag and you couldn't get another job, how long before you let it go?
Well, and people got to realize that when you see people go to litigation, once you litigate against anybody, you're a liability. Nobody else is going to want to work with you because they're going to think that you're going to do the same thing to them. So you have to get as much as you can the first go around, right? So, but also, she also has to take accountability because she says whenever she would run up on anybody in Hollywood, they would be scared and be intimidated. So you have a reputation for that. So are you telling the truth? Yes. And we've had this conversation, but there is a way how you deliver the truth that does have consequences. And if you are bullying or being Debo or trying to intimidate, and I'm not saying that's what she was doing, but that's the perception. The perception is you're a bully. So they're not going to work with you, right? They are going to work with the easiest people that they can work with because actors are already considered difficult to work with already off top.
Because they know there's going to be another person that's thirsty for the spot. Just like when Terrence Howard, they was trying to give him crumbs for that,
for the Iron Man.
And who Don Cheadle just came into. They're gonna find somebody else.
They're gonna find somebody else, and to the point where like we were complaining about British actors coming in and taking our roles. Well, guess what? Because they're more agreeable, and they've been training for that role their whole life. So if you don't get on board, I will gladly remove you from the picture, pay this guy less, and get the same return.
You're replaceable. That's basically
how
you feel, and it sucks, you know what I'm saying? Because you want black people to stand together and, but we're very individualistic in a lot that. When it comes to that. Like, we were taught that. If you know that Terrence Howard is getting lowballed or whatever, and instead of, like, I feel like as a black person, you shouldn't take that role. You should stand behind him and make them have to pay him. You know what I'm saying? But I don't feel like we're going to do that. We're going to get our bag.
See, I think the problem is they just got finished fighting for fair pay all the way across the board. So if I pass up a role, like we're saying, then what does my reputation, how does that precede me within the circles? It's, oh, nope, he didn't want to take it. I wouldn't hire him. Right? And then now you have no work.
Yeah, and that's why I said we look out for self. We say we want to,
but I don't think that's just us. I think that's everybody. I think everybody does that.
Well, I think everybody does that, but I feel like we are in a position to where we're lower on the totem pole. Like,
for sure.
If we're trying to make progress, but we constantly stepping over each other and stepping on each other's toes. Where are we?
I just think everybody has a difference of opinion on how to make change. I think the Tyler Perrys and I think the Kevin Harts of the world believe that being as successful as possible will bring about change because then we'll have a seat at the table. Then you have the other people that will say, no, we all need to stand together, strike, boycott, and hit them in their pockets, and then they will change, right? But really, who's willing to make the sacrifice?
Not many, because we all trying to get ahead and we all trying to get our bag.
And that's the difference between, the civil rights generation and our generation. Civil rights generation, it was like, look, we gonna do what we got to do to make sure that our kids have a better life.
Don't nobody take the bus. Imagine if somebody said that now, like, what?
Yeah.
I ain't taking a bus. I got to walk.
Yeah.
I got to try to carpool with other people.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yep. That's what, and that's and that's the difference. And that was the dangers of integrating. Integration. That was the dangers of that, because now we, I got my spot. I'm good. And that's what who said that? That's what Vivica A. Fox said verbatim. I'm good.
Yeah, about the conversation
about the fair pay.
I'm good. Okay, what about everybody else? If you know for a fact across the board, everybody ain't good.
But that is individualism on display for sure. So,
Man.
But there's a lot of deep-rooted slavery. So when we talk about, slavery's over, still a lot of deep-rooted cultural things that we do. That mindsets, mentalities, all of that. Yeah. And I wish it was different.
I really do.
Right? I mean, we just went through the whole Steve Harvey, D.L. Hughley, Cedric the Entertainer, Cat. I mean, it's basically the same conversation.
I mean, from what we know, show business, Hollywood is messy, but we finding out comedy is very messy.
Yeah.
They at the top right now.
For sure.
They at the top of the docket of mess.
Yes.
Is comedy.
And then she's going on tour with Cat Williams, which I saw that coming.
I think people gonna go.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, I know everybody be like, oh, she not funny. I've heard people even say Cat Williams ain't funny. I feel like, to each his own. I feel like when people stop liking you, all of a sudden you ain't funny.
Yeah.
She was a queen of comedy. Oh, she never was funny. Okay.
And this may be their last opportunity. Because after this, you've already ruffled enough feathers. And what I did not agree with what she said was there's consequences to a lie. And she didn't agree with, I think somebody told her that there's consequences to. There's always a consequence to telling the truth. Always. Always. And it may not always benefit you. And I think that's why we live in a generation where lying is so prominent. Mm-hmm. I think I read a study where it said
more beneficial.
It said 97% of people lie. 97% of Americans lie. Yeah, because it's more beneficial for sure. You're protecting yourself. Telling the truth will put you in a situation where you may suffer consequences. You may lose friends. You may lose business deals, all those other things. I know for me, I want to be a person of integrity. So I will always tell the truth. But I've learned in my age that you have to be more careful on how you tell the truth. Because you just blowing people out the water. What is my motive?
Yeah, not just how you tell the truth, but sometimes even when
you tell the truth. Yeah.
It ain't the time. Yeah. It ain't the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like if I'm down on my luck and this and that, it's probably not the time to pile on to that. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like with the truth, just because it's the truth. Like I've said that a lot as an adult. That whole keep it real era, you too old for that. Oh, I keep it real. I keep it real. I don't care.
Yeah, but you're using the truth to tear people down.
You gotta have some tact.
Yeah,
with it.
And sometimes
that comes with maturity and age.
And sometimes it doesn't need to be said. Yeah. Sometimes it just doesn't need to be said.
Yeah.
Like, and we'll talk about it. Like the whole D.L. Hughley thing. I felt like a lot of the things that she said shouldn't have been said. Yeah. Was it true? Or no, I ain't gonna say it. Was there some truth to it? Yes. But did it need to be said? No. Because you were using it as a hurtful tactic.
And like you said it off air, like as somebody that was molested, for her to bring up his daughter being molested and him not believing her, and
that's nasty to me.
Yeah.
God, that's nasty. If you know how hurtful it was for you to go through what you went through, why would you bring an innocent bystander into your issues with him when all it was over a radio station segment show
that nobody else had heard,
that we never heard?
Nobody heard that segment because he pulled it, but you felt the way about it.
See, but again, that goes back to the trauma. You feel like a victim. you feel like that you have trouble protecting yourself. And I feel like what she does that I feel like is wrong, you bring the public into your issues and you want people to be on board with you. Oh, my babies, oh, my sweet babies. Somebody, this is what he did to me. I need y'all to be on board with me. It's like, I feel like that is directly deep rooted in her trauma, that you need somebody to agree with your grievances. Because why would you, for one, that could have stayed private. It didn't air. He apologized supposedly, but then somehow I don't even remember. That happened so long. I don't even remember how it even came back up.
When she was on the tour with him and they was headlining the show. She was
supposed to be headlining. And then the emails are going back and forth. See, exactly. and now it's just getting I feel like
what happens is that when people feel wronged, they feel like it's open season on how they respond to it.
Yeah.
And we saw that with the Erica Mena thing, when they're calling her a monkey.
Yep.
And a lot of people say, well, when you bring this up, then it's over with. When you do this, and so I see that a lot with people when they get into confrontations of when they know they're in the right or they feel they're in the right, how they respond, they feel like they're justified.
I agree.
And I don't feel like we had this conversation. I don't feel like it justifies any type of response all the time.
No.
I don't feel like that. Just because you right.
No, and again, you got to be accountable, right? So you reap what you sow. Even if you are in the right, that does not give you the right to respond.
I feel like your character should still stay where it's at no matter
how you feel.
How you feel, if you've been wronged, whatever. Agree. Your character should be your character. Like, I shouldn't, well, you wronged me, now I'm going to talk about your kids.
Well, you know what they say.
Like, well, I don't believe in talking about kids, but ain't
no but. And what I've always been told by my mom and by older women and people that are wiser is, if you want to know somebody's true character, see how they act when they're mad, or when you tell them no. Either one of those two, or when they drunk, right? Yeah, you be getting the real truth then.
That's the truth. That's why I said I don't know what Shannon Sharp got in that bourbon.
Look, hey, we might have to buy a bottle.
They only be sipping a little bit. Like, what's going on? I think too, another thing that they talked about that was interesting to me was the conversation of, they were getting on why people didn't necessarily believe her or why people didn't support her or rally behind her, even though she said the same thing that Taraji said. And she was saying, like, basically her stature and how she presented it. Like, she was standing tall versus Taraji crying. And she had her black man standing by her side, and we're not used to seeing a strong black woman with a black man on her side. Even when we do see a strong black woman, she's generally by herself, hyper independent on her own, boss lady, whatever. So,
yeah, let's play that clip.
We have a hard time seeing a strong black woman with her back straight and a chin up and a strong black man standing by her side. We have a hard time accepting that, but we can accept seeing a black woman broken. Now it's really serious because she's falling apart. Our community had a hard time with those two things. And when I would hear people say, why is her husband there? Why is he there? It's a sad day when we're questioning why a black man would stand with his black woman. So when you hear black women saying we're the most undervalued, disrespected, underserved, mistreated, violated, exploited, we get all of that. Then you see a black man standing with his black woman saying, not on my watch. And you hear some black men saying, why her husband gotta be there? We're in a sad state of affairs when we begin to question black love and black unity. So they didn't want to hear me, some of them, because of what I look like, because I spoke about their heroes, and because they saw that man standing right there strong. Some of us.
That's deep. That's deep. I'll say this. I feel like there is some truth to people not wanting to hear Monique based on what she looks like, based on the fact that she named names and who she was talking about. She didn't beat around the bush. And I will say the black man being on her side too. I say there's some truth to that, but I don't necessarily feel like that's the only reason or it applies directly to her. You know what I mean? I feel like there's a little bit more nuance to it than just that, but there's definitely a conversation to be had.
Oh, for sure.
About that.
For sure. I just don't think it applies all the way to her situation. So I agree with you. Yes.
And I feel like overall, I don't necessarily feel like black people have an issue seeing a black man standing on a black woman's side.
No.
But I definitely think there is what's the word I'm looking for? Like, people feel away when there's a husband manager or a momager, or they always get a bad rep.
For sure.
I feel like husband managers and momagers and stuff like that get a bad rep.
Yep.
Not just her, but just in general.
But is that from the general public, or is that from the people that they're doing business with? And
again, I feel like it's from the people that they do business with, that narrative is out there.
That's where I'm
and that narrative benefits them, because when there is a husband manager or a mom manager, people are less likely to listen or to believe them, because we all know that, that's just how mom and momagers are. But at the end of the day, a lot of the times they looking out for their child's best interest or their wife's best interest.
For sure. Yep.
More so than
somebody else. Yep. I totally agree with that. I feel like, again, I think a negotiation tactic is to discredit who you're negotiating with.
Absolutely.
Right? So, they're controlling. They're doing too much. They don't have the business mind. Like, for instance, the Lamar Jackson and his mom being the agent. All the stuff in the media was, she's not qualified to be an agent. She doesn't know what she's doing. She's going to mess up his money. He ended up getting a really good contract, right? Again, you did not want that because he bypassed an agent and he went with his mother. So that is not the status quo. So you don't want other players doing that, because guess who that cuts out? The agent.
Yep.
And who is the agent in cahoots with? The owner. So it's you're disrupting the system. So guess what you're going to do? You're going to make it seem like that they're disqualified. They don't know what they're doing. So you're going to make it look like this is not the path to go down. But it makes math. If I can save 3% off of $300 million, I'm going to do that.
Hello.
And then whatever commission I do get, I can get to my mom, because I was going to give her money anyway. So it's the same people that are in control the media. So when you control the media, you control the narrative.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I feel like that was.
But I do think there is some truth about, the black husband and him standing in and speaking for his wife. I think people do have a problem with that. And I think it's because we're in a new era, a modern era, where a woman should be able to speak for herself, or, as an independent, like, you know what I mean? I don't know. I feel like it's something there with that.
So you think that the public had a problem with that?
Because why does it matter? Why wouldn't her husband be there?
Right. That's what I'm wondering. Where does that? I still think that narrative comes from the gatekeepers. I think they put it out there, and then it has traction in with the general public. I don't know.
I think it's because I always see, like, when I see black men stepping up for black women or speaking out for black women, or, championing our causes or being behind our causes, like, it's always simp behavior, this or that. Like, it's always seen as a negative. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I'm coming from with it.
So as a black man, I maybe I don't see it as much. So for me, if that is the case, then that is a very confusing message. Do you want to be supported, or do you not want to be supported?
How is that confusing?
Meaning, no. Meaning, like, it's seen as a negative thing.
No, I'm talking about it's seen as a negative thing from the general public, like
no, right. That's what I'm saying.
Other men being like, oh, he's a simp, he's a this, he's a that, or whatever. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Okay,
Like, it's a knock against the man.
Being more
when
specific.
you know what I'm saying? When he actually stands behind a woman.
When you're saying general public, I'm thinking you're saying everybody, like women, men alike. You're saying more specifically, men are the ones saying that they're simps and things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I mean, we've had this conversation multiple times.
Yeah, I maybe I just don't see it, but I will say this. I will say that I think the reason why there may be backlash is because majority of women, and she said it herself, that she championed herself on being a boss, on being independent, on things of that nature. So when we champion that, then the opposite of championing that would be seeing you being protected, represented, covered by your husband. Mm-hmm. So now it's like, so what happened to the independent? I'm a boss. I'm the, you know what I mean? I'm in the, and she said that I learned from the Oprah school. So we like, so where did that go? Mm-hmm. Right? So for us, it's like, it's either like it's the way black men see it is some black men see it as in you're flip-flopping based on what is beneficial to you. You want a man when it's beneficial. You want a man when you need something done. You want a man when you need somebody to fix something. You want a man when you need us to go to the car shop with you. But then you want to be Miss Independent. I'm a boss. It's a hot girl summer when you want to do what you want to do. So which one do you want? Because you can't have it both ways. It's either you you either independent, codependent, or you're interdependent. I've always been a champion for interdependence because it's not saying that you need us. It's saying that you want to work together with us, right? You can't handle it on your own. And I think for me speaking, and maybe there's some black men who don't, I love a woman that can handle her own business. I don't want no woman that needs me to do every single thing for her. No, because the stronger you are, the stronger I am, the stronger we are as one unit. And it should be a team effort. So I think that's what she was, saying that her and husband had, which is beautiful. But
I think too, like the strong black woman narrative of, like she said, is a result of trauma.
For sure.
So like we said, hyper independence. I'm strong. I'm a boss. Because I'm now in control. I feel like I have control.
There you go.
You know what I mean? Because I was out of control for so long.
Yep.
Now having control over my finances and all of that. You know what I mean? Like,
and your decisions, you don't have to consider nobody.
Exactly.
Yep.
And I mean, she said at the end of the day, all I had was stuff.
You were alone. You had nobody there for you.
But I think now,
and to me, and I think that is what, like, when we talk about the chasm or the separation between black men and black women, that is the conversation that black men have been trying to have. Is that narrative only leads to one result: you by yourself, alone, lonely, without nobody to be, no kids, no marriage, no nothing. And it's like, are there some issues, and some of it may be related to the trauma directly from black men. Totally understand that. Mm-hmm. Not all black men, but I totally understand that. So that may put you in a space where you're less trusting of black men. And that's something that black men got to do a better job of. We have to hold other black men accountable when they are mistreating black women, right? I have to admit that for sure. But that one or two experiences, and some people say, no, I experience it all the time. I'm not talking about the people that experience it all the time. There are black men that want to love, protect, and provide for a black woman, and that see the trauma and the things that they go through, and they want to be there for them and be a rock and want to provide, and like I said, and want to be a safe space for them. Just as much as there's black women that want to be that for black men. And we're just letting this trauma get in the middle of it, and we got to find a way to have better conversations where we are able to heal and hear each other instead of these podcasts that are only perpetrating that same division. Black women ain't shit. Black men ain't shit. And we see
black women, all y'all got all y'all degrees and this and that, but what else you got? But at the end of the day, I do feel like a lot of black women are to the point where I'd rather be alone than settle for some bullshit. And I'm okay with that too, because
I understand.
Stand on your square, because at the end of the day, a lot of times it's like most of these black women could have somebody.
For sure.
But at what cost?
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
and then see, but at the same time, but then that conversation always rolls into unrealistic expectations. What are you expecting? What are you looking for? Me and you've already had that conversation before. Are you leading with values? Or are you leading with preferences? Are you leading with, I have to have a nigga that's 6 feet tall and makes $100,000? Okay, well, if you do that, that's unrealistic. You may find it. That may be a preference, but is that your standard?
I feel like Black people don't give each other enough grace. We talk about all this trauma, and then when we interact with each other, it's like, oh, no, you got this, you got that.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
You know what I'm saying? It's like every single one of us got trauma. We have no grace, no patience with each other at all. So on one end, Black men is like, well, I might not have no job, and I might not have this, and I might still be trying to come up, and I might not be the greatest leader yet, but, work with me. But then on the other end, then you're like, but you got all this trauma, and you want to be in control, and you want to be this, you want to be that. So it's like either we're going to try to work through our trauma,
right,
and be together, or we're just going to move on,
right. And I think for Black people in general, and this may come across and may not sound correct, but I'm gonna just keep it a buck. I'm gonna keep it honest. If you are going to be dating Black people, you have to keep an open mind that you may be dealing with some trauma. Just because we all deal with the same exact conditions. Obviously, Black women deal with it to a worse extent because of gender. But as far as racism, as far as colorism, as far as all of these other things, as far as how we are perceived in the media, we all have an extent of trauma.
But my thing is, with all this information that's out and all of it, everybody having all of this knowledge about trauma, like, you should be knowing how to approach these situations and approach these conversations.
I don't think we do. I think that's the problem. I don't think we do.
Yeah.
I really, just like the information I read right now on how sexual abuse, how it affects you in your adulthood, I don't think many people know that.
But I feel like I said, like, we have these conversations and people are like, oh, I feel so seen in all of that, but how it's not translating.
It has to be practical.
It's not translating to how we move in relationships and how we move in our friendships. It's not really translating. So like if I'm interacting with my husband and I see, a certain way that he's responding to me or acting towards me, like I should be able to pinpoint and say, you know what, a lot of us do this because of this. Like we can have this conversation with each other on a podcast, but when we're interacting with each other, you know what I mean?
Well, because look, I'm gonna explain why. So let's just say I'm in a relationship. The person I'm with is very disrespectful. Mm-hmm. Based on they're defensive, they were molested, however you want to paint it, right? Mm-hmm. They grew up in a household where mom always disrespected dad, and that's how she saw them interact. Mm-hmm. I can acknowledge that, but if you keep doing it, then what am I supposed to do? Mm-hmm. I'm supposed to keep accepting that I keep getting disrespected based off of what you saw in your childhood? Now, at one point, I'm going to say, look, this needs to stop. And you need to acknowledge what you're doing. And I think that's where we need to really get to the bottom is self-accountability. Because we can point it out and say, hey, this is what you're doing. Mm-hmm. But unless you recognize what you're doing and unless you come up with a plan on how to fix it, it doesn't really mean anything, right? Mm-hmm. So going to therapy, being honest in therapy.
Absolutely.
Because you can go to a therapist and tell them all the BS that you want to tell them. You need to tell them the honest God truth. Look, absolutely. I'm having trouble respecting my husband. Or I'm having trouble loving my wife and listening and understanding where she's coming from because she's telling me this multiple times, right? But we do the gaslighting thing. Oh, you tell me that I don't listen to you. I do listen to you. Mm-hmm. No, if your partner is telling you that you don't listen to them, then you're not listening. Mm-hmm. It's not a debate. And it isn't an argument. If somebody is telling you how they experience you, take your pride out of the way, take a step back and say, you know what? If I am causing you to experience me this in that way, that is not how I want myself to be experienced, and I need to do some internal work. And I think a lot of us as Black people got to do the internal work, but also when you're pointing out something that you don't like or how you're being mistreated, like you said, timing, the way you're saying it, and how you're saying it make a major difference.
I think it does. She said it in the interview where she basically said like her husband told her that she was using her molestation as a crutch. Mm-hmm. And now you're an adult now. So how you responding now, this is your responsibility. Absolutely. How you responding now. Like you didn't have no control then, but now you have control. And like she said that when she went to therapy, that everything the therapist was saying was stuff that her husband had already said, but he was like, I wanted you to go to a third party person who didn't have a dog in the fight, because if I say it, you're going to feel judged, you're going to feel attacked. And I mean, I've been in that same situation of going to therapy and, you know, being like, yeah, my husband been saying the same thing, and vice versa. He might not go to therapy, but I feel like I'll be telling him something over and over and over again. And then he'll come to me and be like, oh yeah, you know, I was talking to my partner. He said, you know, it was really making sense. And I'm like,
bro, I already told you that.
Said that, but sometimes it takes hearing it
from another person. So
that's why you definitely have to go to therapy. You have to put the time in, because it's hard to, sometimes it's not only hard to hear it from your partner, sometimes it's hard to hear it from people that look like you.
And I think that's a good point. I think we got the people that live with you, that see you day and day, trust what they saying. If they see something, they see it. Like, it's not, and again, that's a response to trauma too, being defensive.
Absolutely.
Because when you've been hurt or you've been let down or you've been disappointed, then what do? You put up a wall. Right. And in order to have a real intimate, transparent relationship, you have to bring that wall down. And yeah, is it scary? Absolutely. Because that same wall that's protecting you can be the same wall that disconnects you from being able to truly have a deep connection with somebody. So if your partner who lives with you, who sees you sleep, sees you snoring, they'll be arguing about that. Oh, you be snoring. I don't be snoring. Bruh, I'm sleeping next to you. I see you sleeping. I'm telling you, you're snoring, and you over there fighting on me. I had to do some record. I had to record. I'm like, look, I'm about to record you.
You know what? And that's one thing that I'm grateful for, is that I have a husband that, I mean, he hard-headed. It take a while, but he's open to listening. And that's the thing, like, in partnership, not just him, but me too, like, being open to listening and being teachable and not know, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're in a partnership, like, it's like when you know, collaborate with people at work. Like, everybody ideas need to be able to come to the table. You know what I mean? It's
but that comes with respect, and that comes with humility. If you are prideful and you are arrogant and you are defensive, it is not going to work.
It ain't going to happen.
And if you do not respect your partner's opinion, then it's not going to work. Those two things have to be in place. And if one of those things is gone, or if one of those things is not present, then it's not going to work. Because if you don't respect what your partner's saying, then you're going to always dismiss what they have to say. And if you are prideful, and if you are arrogant, and if you are not, like I said, teachable, then you're going to dismiss that too.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're gonna like, no, you be tripping. You're the only one that be saying that. And that's where I'll be getting mad, because it's like, just because I'm the only one that's saying it doesn't mean that it's not valid.
Even that is not always a valid excuse, though, because other people are not experiencing you in the way that I am. This is a different type of relationship. You get what I'm saying?
Or may not have the courage to tell you.
Or that part too. They may not have the courage. I say that all the time when men be like, oh no, that ain't happening. I don't know no men who do that. I don't know. You don't experience men the same way that women do.
That women do, yeah, that's true.
You're not in, you know what I'm saying? An intimate relationship is going to be much different.
Then, yeah.
You know what I mean? So
that's true. That is very, very true. And you have to understand that there are a million different perspectives of you from other people. How you perceive yourself and how other people perceive you are totally different. And I think that's the most dangerous thing about trauma. Trauma changes your self-perception. How you perceive yourself is changed based off of the traumatic events that you've gone through.
And you have to realize is that people's experience with you and your intention is not always going to align.
For sure.
And it's not necessarily to, you know, I feel like we're always looking for who is to blame. And that's where these conversations...
Or who's right and who's wrong.
Yeah, who's to blame, who's right, who's wrong. And so, like, even in these conversations with Monique and DL and all of this stuff, it's always, you have to pick a side based on who's right and who's wrong.
Right. And really...
that don't get you nowhere.
And really, they all could be right. From their perspective.
All could be right.
From their perspective.
And she might be right on this point. They might be right on that point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And until we realize that, especially in a relationship, that it ain't about who's right and who's wrong, it's about the solution.
Yeah.
You ain't gonna get nowhere.
That is the best advice for relationships or marriage or whatever, is you do not argue to win. You argue for a win-win solution. Because if somebody loses, why would you want your partner to lose? You want to find a solution that is beneficial to both parties. Where's the win-win? You don't want to win-lose. You want to win-win. And I think if you get that, then you would be better in your relationship because you're just trying to find a solution. You feel this way, I feel this way. Okay, how can we both be agreeable to what we're going to do going forward?
I think to bring it back to the Monique conversation, with her being molested and her having the trauma that she has, her biggest thing is accountability, and that's very important to her. And I think that is why she cannot
and telling the truth.
She cannot get past this situation. Because it affected her bag and her money, and she's still feeling the effects of it. But also just that telling the truth and people being accountable for what they did to her. She has a big problem with that, and I get it.
Totally get
Rightfully
it.
so.
Totally makes sense with the context and with everything making sense. Even without the context, I would still understand it. And then that's why her husband goes so hard for her because he knows the backstory.
And she probably even she doesn't have a relationship with her family. She probably didn't have that of somebody being in her corner and being on her side.
Well, and you have to think, how do just put yourself in her shoes. And we talked about attachment theory and we talked about all this other stuff, right? But the people that are supposed to love you and protect you the most, right? Your brother's supposed to be protecting you. Your family's supposed to be protecting you. So when you are betrayed by the very people that you are expecting to protect, psychologically as a child, how do you think that's going to play out? That's very hard for you to trust people. So for her that's why she goes so hard for her husband, because she found a man that she finally can trust that is dependable.
Absolutely. One thing I will say in this whole conversation before we move on is have a little bit more empathy, Black people, for each other, a little bit more patience. I know it's frustrating, it's hard. We all got our things that we go through and our traumas that we're trying to get through.
Right.
But I feel like we owe it to each other because of who else is going to give it to us? Who else is going to have that patience for us? Who else is going to understand? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Nobody else can do it for us but us, to be all the way real. Other people don't understand what we go through, not just in what we dealt with our family, but just on a daily basis of being Black in America.
Well, and to a bigger point, and I don't know if people realize this, but they're going to have to start doing some research, and we really dropped the ball. Coming up shortly, within the next generation, we will be the minority. We ain't gonna be the minority. We about to be the minority. There are multiple immigrants that are coming in, Asian, Mexican, right? Where we were always kind of right above them, where we had a voting power and we were able to do things. Right, the way that immigration is going, and with abortions and with mass incarceration and Black on Black crime, and with the boom of them moving up and coming in droves, right? And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. I'm just saying for our community, we have to realize that if we didn't think that we had power now, when we're the minority, where our vote don't matter, whatever it is we say don't matter, it's about to be worse. Because before, at least people would say, okay, let's come to the table and let's give you God to lift every voice, whatever. But when you at the bottom, and you only maybe 8% of the population,
man,
nope, we don't care what y'all got to say now. We ain't giving y'all no scraps or nothing. So when we talk about doing right by us, by slavery, by reparations, that ball need to get rolling now. Because if we don't get it balling now, we ain't gonna have no seat at the table,
man.
So I think I agree with everything that you're saying, that if anybody should be for us, it should be us. We shouldn't be knocking our own people down, right? And if there's any, like, out of all of this is going on, it's really disheartening to see us fighting each other like this in the media, when all it really needs to be is just a conversation, right? So I don't know if that Tyler Perry audio is going to ever be leaked, but for his sake, I hope it don't.
Yes, a few people saying they got Tyler Perry in for videos and voice notes, so his name is getting tied up in some things. But I mean, we hate to see it. I don't want to see, like, I don't say that to say I don't want to see Tyler Perry go down. Like, I don't. That's the thing. Like, we don't.
I don't want to see nobody go down. But I definitely don't want to see somebody like Monique that is a staple to the culture. We have to realize that she is important to the culture. I don't want to see her feeling like, not even feeling like that she was wronged by our gatekeepers. Like, we always complain about the white people, but then we do the same thing that the white people did to us, to ourselves. I don't
said that you become the thing that you hate a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And
that's why when people talk, oh, black people can't be black people can't be racist. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. And we have been. Right? And like there'll be, oh, well, if we would have just stayed segregated, if we would have stayed segregated, I feel like, in my opinion, the same way that it was back then, they would have, you always, it's human nature to categorize, to separate, and to try to obtain power. There would have been some type of class system there would have been some system some class trying to capitalize off of the other class. Same way that there was the house niggas with the field niggas. And they'll say,
still levels. You know what I'm saying? Either you light, you dark,
light skin,
you're a man,
brown,
or you're a woman.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's going to be
That's
levels.
just human nature. Human nature. So, yeah, especially coming to America and learning the ways of the West. I think in the Africa and things like that, it's obviously not as bad, but there was still slavery then too. So I don't know. Anyway, before we get too deep into that, I want to get into relationship advice because it is, by the time y'all listen to this, it'll be Valentine's Day.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the lovers before I don't want to get too deep into political.
Right.
Shout out to the lovers. So if y'all listening, man, I know I would have loved to done like a special Valentine's Day episode, but you know, I think this was a more important conversation for us to have. And this honestly does tie into love. Trauma will stop and hinder your ability to love. So I think taking some self-accountability and seeing where you are at when it comes to how you and your childhood and how your childhood affects your relationship. So
absolutely. All right, let's get into this relationship.
Now, there's another one that we answered in the Facebook post. I sent you that one too.
This one?
That one was good too. So whichever one you want to do.
Let me see.
That one was good.
Okay.
That one, you want to do that one?
All right, let's go.
I say we do that one.
All right, so for today's relationship advice, woman breaks up with a man for not fulfilling her requirements. So let's get into it. I'm going to read it. It says, hey, I'm breaking up with you. I have this requirement that any man I choose to be with will be a provider, and I don't feel like you are one. I feel like you have this idea that a woman deserves to be given the world after she stands by a man when he's struggling because it's somehow proven her loyalty or whatever else. I will not be holding it down for you like that or any man ever. I am not going to keep laying down with you while you are providing absolutely nothing for me and not adding value to my life. I already told you before we started dating that was exactly what I did not want when you asked me about how my previous relationship went. It's the same cycle and I'm not doing it with you. On top of that, you don't take me anywhere. I feel used AF. I'm not even gonna lie. All we do when you come over is have sex and you talk about getting head from me. It was fun for a little bit, but I deserve better. I want a provider man who will take care of me, my every need, and spoil the fuck out of me. For example, last night, I should never have to tell a man to open a door for me. That's the bare minimum. You are not ready for me. Find someone else.
Damn. Hold on. Damn.
You know what? I will say that I respect her for being upfront and honest about it because I feel like we live in a day and age of ghosting and then subbing and acting like don't nobody know what happened. So we talk about being upfront, being honest. And she was that. I do, on the other hand, feel like this was like taken straight out the dictionary of Facebook dating memes. You know what I'm saying? Like,
stop it. I don't like that shit.
It's giving she took a Derek Jackson video and transcribed it into text. You know, and I feel like it is a positive thing that we're getting more information, because I feel like a lot of times, like, someone will say, like, I didn't even know I was in a bad situation until somebody else kind of pointed it out, and now you're like,
Yeah.
No, I don't have to deal with that. No, that don't make no sense. So I get that part of it.
Yeah.
But I do feel like sometimes it could go both ways. It can go both ways.
I think sis ain't wrong. I think sis, she stood on her business and she told him exactly what she needed and what she wanted. The only issue that I have with this is why was that not the requirement from the beginning?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like Black women should not require or should not accept bare minimum. So I think that what she told him was absolutely correct. But like I've said before on the show, what is the price of admission?
Mm-hmm.
If that was not the price of admission at the beginning, then you already set the stage for what you're going to accept later on. And she came to her senses, which I'm glad that she did. But that should have been the requirement from the get-go. You would have been able to weed that out from the get-go. Are you a provider? And then maybe seen what his character was like before you slept with him. See if he's going to open the door before you slept with him. See if he's going to take you on a date before you slept with him. You allowing him to come over and have sex with you multiple times and say, oh, it was fun at first. So you were okay with it at first. But now all of a sudden, now it's like you said, you watch it Derek deactivated. Now it's like, oh, now I know my worth. Like, no. For women that are dating, well, and men that are dating, but specifically for this cause, you need to figure out what it is that you want and what it is that you're looking for from the beginning and set the stage from the beginning. If you want to be taken out and courted, that needs to happen from the beginning.
Well, that sounds good. Y'all say that, and then you turn around and be like, but it's too high. Now, you could set it in the beginning, but not too high.
Well, then you're weeding them out.
And that's what we say. Like, you're weeding them out. There's no...
I have no problems with that.
Okay.
We're talking about courting.
Okay.
I think courting, to me, courting is bare minimum. Opening the door, bare minimum. A provider, which I don't know what she meant by that, but I'm assuming she's not saying, I want you to pay all my bills. I think she means, are you providing something of value to the relationship? Sound like the only thing that he was providing to the relationship was the D. So
I think a lot of times, too, when women say provider, I think a lot of times women want a man that is...
Generous. That's it.
That's generous. And it's not necessarily like... You're generous, but like you give. Well, some people do. They want a man that's going to give them money.
Sure.
But I think sometimes women just want a man that is going to
help,
prioritize them,
take things off.
That
your
is
plate.
actually going. You know what I mean? Like actually care. If I say my tire got flattened and you just like, oh, okay, well, good luck with that.
Yep.
Like what?
Yep.
That don't make no sense. Like I saw one where the girl went to a guy's house for like a hookup. And her car got towed, and it was $500. And it was like, should he help with her getting her car to tow? But he had originally told her that they be towing over here, and she still risked it.
Damn.
I don't know about that one.
Should he put some on it, or?
I don't know if he warned her. But at the same time, I mean, she came to see you. I think for me, I would. Just because of my character. I would feel bad if you came over and we did a pod and then your car got towed, I would feel bad. So I would offer to pay for some of it.
See, again, that's what we're saying. Generous.
Yeah.
It's not, and it's always like, oh, y'all making an expectation, or I get that, but at the end of the day, it's like, dang.
It's your character. To me, at the end of the day,
even if I turn it down.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's just, to me, it's your character. And to me, that's shown that was selfish. Like it was all about him. So again, what are you setting from the beginning? And you need to figure that out before you sleep with people.
Well, we talked about that with the last relationship advice, as far as people sleeping with people first date or whatever. And it's like, you ain't really got to get to know this person.
No, because as a man, what incentive do I have to be what you're asking for after you've already given it up? There's none.
That's sad.
And I'm just being real. I'm being honest with you. Because most of the men that are courting to have sex.
That's sad.
And once they get the sex, then it is what it is. And at the end of the day, why would you not want to get to know somebody that you're sleeping with? If there was potential for that, you've already, I won't say that she ruined it. I feel like a lot
of people go from...
Well, and hold on. And I'm sorry. Let me say this. It is not all on the woman's responsibility either. Okay? Man, y'all need to stop sleeping with women so damn quick, man. You got just as much responsibility as she does. Like, it is not all, because I think when we have these conversations, it always, and I'm going to correct myself, it always tends to be on the woman. It is not all on the woman. It is a 50%, I ain't gonna say 50, 100% responsibility of the woman, 100% responsibility of the man. Either one of y'all could say, no, let's wait and let me get to know you better.
I feel like it's always 100% on the woman to basically not get played. Like, you're supposed to see the signs. You're supposed to, wait it out, see if he got character, see if he got this, see if he's really about what he says. And if you do get hoodwinked, then you're bad. You should have did a better job of weeding them out or picking them out. Like, that's always with the conversation.
Well, I think it's the same thing for men too. But I understand what you're saying. I think women are more vulnerable, so women do have to be more on guard. But men get played too. Especially in this day and age, men get played too, for sure. Mm-hmm. So get to know people, man. Can we bring courting back? I don't even know. If you ask people, I don't think they even know what courting is.
Not with online dating, and
online dating should make it easier.
People, sending a couple messages and then linking up. We matched, and then you going out.
Somebody said something, and I forgot who it was.
I said, bring back talking on the phone.
All that. Just facts. Somebody said something. I forgot who it was, and I don't want to quote them because I don't remember who it was, and I don't remember exactly what the quote was. But the quote was, or not the quote, but the saying was, relationships are trash because people are going grocery shopping while they're hungry.
Damn.
You going grocery shopping while you hungry, and then you end up settling for whatever because you're trying to just feed your appetite.
You better get the meal prepping out here. So when you come in that door, you don't just grab the first thing.
Nah, for real, but it's true.
Dang, that's deep.
You over there dating you're dating when you're lonely. So you're willing, you're looking for just a body.
Well, maybe.
No. I'm not saying. I'm not saying
that's how you move in a relationship. Like,
oh yeah,
maybe he is cool. Well, maybe he just did that because it is. So you try to make excuses. I've seen it a lot. Like, girl, cut that nigga off immediately.
For sure.
Like, red flag, cut him off. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I said, have patience, but some things, you gotta set your red flags and your yellow flags, and you know what I mean. There's in the middle. There's yellow flags.
There are yellow flags.
But there's some that's just straight up red. There's
some that are red, swoop red, for sure. Nigga waving his red flag like he gangbanging.
Yeah, no.
And niggas got to, man, y'all got to step y'all games up, man. See, but it's kind of a vicious cycle. And I don't know where it starts. Because I feel like men should step their game up more when it comes to dating. But I also feel like if women required more, men would have to step their game up more. So I'm not saying it's the woman's responsibility.
Because when women require more, all y'all do is complain and make podcasts.
Nope. Because there's other women that are willing to accept the low bottom bare minimum fruit.
Oh, okay. That's why y'all be getting on these podcasts mad at us.
Look, what's the saying? High tides raise all boats or something like that.
And you know what? Honestly, the whole, like, from what she was saying, when she was saying, like, oh, if, you want me to basically prove my loyalty, like, we've been saying that. That's what black men want you to do. Oh, if you're down for me, then I'll reward you. It's a myth. And I'm going to just be honest, it's mostly a myth. When that man finally gets up to where he can get the woman that he want to get, he's going to go get them. He's not going to be like, oh, you was there for me from the beginning and blah, blah, blah. No, he's, you know what I'm saying? A lot of times some men men will do that. Because that's who is willing to be with them. Now when they have access.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a people thing. Because women do it too. Women find a guy that they like and they get to a certain extent and then they get access to a higher echelon of men and then they move on.
So basically what we're saying is you're not with who you really love and want to be with. You with who you could get.
Who is going to help you. Especially in this day and age with this economy, you are with who is helping you survive. There's a lot of roommates that are masquerading as they are in a relationship.
That's crazy.
Rent.
I know some people, I call them hobosexuals. Because you are in that relationship, because if you was not, you would be on the streets. Because I've seen dudes
that be
in a relationship with somebody And that, she did, she that. You doing all of this, but you still over there.
Right.
But as soon as they go from one relationship straight to another one because I got somewhere else to live.
Yep, that's true.
Crazy.
That's true.
You try to find somebody else who's stupid enough to let you just move in with them.
I've seen that. That's true. And that's more men. I've seen more men do that than I've seen women do that. But I have seen some women do that too. I have seen some women do that, down and out, and they just jumping from man to man. But that's more typically a man thing. I've seen more men do that.
It's like, I finally convinced somebody else to take me in. All right, I'm out for real this time.
And I think I even saw there was a Facebook post that actually went on a step-by-step process on how to get in the house.
Crazy.
Just asking, can you sleep on the couch for a night or two? And then you bring this stuff over. It's it was crazy. I was like, damn, this nigga got a whole instruction book on how to become a homosexual. It was funny. But hey man, it's tough times out here in these streets, man.
Yeah.
It's tough times, dog.
I hate to see it. I hope that it gets better. I stay praying for my friends that's single, because I feel for them. It's easy to get on this podcast and talk about, do this or make sure you checking this and this red flag and that when you already got some damn body.
Yeah, that's true.
It's easy to talk about it from the outside.
Well, but you still have to go through it. You still have to go through it.
But it was a different time frame.
But it was still the same to me, even though it was a different.
I have not been single since 2000 and
I understand what you're telling. I understand what you're saying, but you still have to go through the process. So that warrants you to give advice, and you can still observe stuff to give advice. That's the other thing. I don't like when people say, "Oh, you have to go through it for you to give me advice." I can observe something and see when something's wrong.
I get that, but at the same time, there was no DMs when I was dating. There was no.
You didn't have MySpace? You had MySpace.
I mean, I'm talking about Instagram.
You didn't have AIM? You didn't have Yahoo?
It ain't the same.
But it's what I'm saying is
screenshots.
Definitely was no screenshots.
Wasn't nobody doing all these receipts.
It was no stories. I understand what you're saying.
It's the close friends.
It's too much going on. To me, even if there's
you could put a story in it, deleting 24 hours, all of that.
But it was I get what you're saying, but it's still you still got to deal with the person.
Yeah.
It's maybe different ways on how to meet, but the bottom line is you are still dealing with a one-on-one interaction with a person. And you still got to be honest. You still got to be transparent. You still got to be respectful. You still got to court. You still got to date. You still got to be honest. That didn't change.
But the atmosphere,
the culture, yes,
the culture is different.
The culture of dating is different. I will totally understand. But there are multiple people who are looking for old school courtship.
Wasn't no podcast that was influencing everybody's dating ideals.
But we always look at it from the negative. On the positive, there are positive podcasts that give you really good relationship advice. That should help you relationships. Online dating, you may be able to meet people that you didn't have access to. That's another positive thing. You're able to kind of weed out in court and read what you're about to get into before you get into it. That's another positive. There's some things that enhance your dating experience.
I think social media definitely, I feel like easily I could go to somebody's social media and be like, absolutely not.
That's what I'm saying.
When some of the stuff people be posting, it's like, oh no, you want to.
And that's what I'm saying. People be slipping up, they wife tagging them, and you thinking they single,
not even that. Just their mindset and how they think.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is, but you can also see, bruh, you was hiding the whole family. Mm-hmm. Back then, you couldn't. If somebody was in a relationship, you couldn't really tell.
Yeah, I guess.
I just think that we always talk about the downfalls of dating, but there's also some tools that are we were talking about attachment theory. I first learned about that via podcast. We didn't have that information back then.
There's definitely more information. But like I said earlier in the pod, that we got the information, but we really need more practical ways to
absolutely
apply it.
Absolutely. So. That I totally agree with. So, all right. Well, we appreciate y'all, man, for kicking with us for almost 2 hours. Happy Valentine's Day to all the lovers out there. Mm-hmm. Wrap it up. Go get tested.
Make sure y'all tap in for the live on Monday night.
Mm-hmm. We're going to respond to the Usher halftime show. I'm sure there's going to be some controversy. Mm-hmm. And
see. I'm interested to see if Chris Brown gonna respond to the so-called diss, because I feel like social.
Oh yeah, he will. He will.
You know he will.
And let me say this publicly: we did not ask for Alicia Keys to be performing during halftime.
My Boo is my song, so
damn,
I'm here for it.
Nobody asked for Alicia Keys.
My Boo was a big hit.
No, I ain't trying to hear no My Boo during Niners and Chiefs halftime.
Usher, do your thing. You got a catalog.
Usher gonna kill it. Usher got
you
it.
got a catalog. So
I didn't ask for no Alicia Keys. I would have liked to see Lil Jon.
He is.
I want to see Ludacris. Okay, so got to be played.
Yeah, he said they gonna be there.
Okay, cool.
He already said
as long as they there, then I'm good. I did not. Nobody asked for Alicia Keys.
They just said they saw her at rehearsal. So,
which the only song they got is My Boo.
Okay.
So hopefully it ain't too long. Hopefully she on in and she off the stage. I think the black community. If there's anybody that we canceled, it's been her.
Yeah. She fell from grace.
Yeah, she fell from grace trying to be a little home wrecker, but it is what it is. All right, y'all. We'll see y'all
on the next episode.
Oh, matter of fact, before we leave, who's your Super Bowl pick? Actually, no, don't even give it, because by the time that we do it, the episode gonna drop Monday and the game's over. So we'll react on it on Monday.
Niners gonna win.
We'll react on Monday. All right, y'all. Y'all have a good Super Bowl weekend, Valentine's Day weekend. Like, subscribe, comment, follow, all that. Comment, rate. We love y'all. We'll see y'all next time.